The idea of life on Mars has fascinated humanity for centuries. As we inch closer to making the dream of colonizing the red planet a reality, one of the most pressing questions arises. Could animals adapt faster to life on Mars than humans? Mars, often called Earth's twin, shares many similarities with our home planet, including a day that's just a little over 24 hours long and a year that lasts almost twice as long. But despite these similarities, Mars is a hostile environment, far less hospitable than Earth. With an atmosphere made up mostly of carbon dioxide and surface temperatures that can plummet to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, the challenges for any life form on Mars are immense. In the search for life on Mars, scientists have studied the planet's harsh conditions and debated whether it could ever support terrestrial animals. But the question is not whether life could exist on Mars, but whether it could thrive. Humans, as biological beings, require specific conditions to survive: oxygen, water, food, and a stable climate. Mars, however, offers none of these in abundance. Despite this, the idea of humans living on Mars is gaining traction. Organizations like NASA and private companies like SpaceX are investing heavily in Mars exploration, with the goal of eventually sending humans to the planet in the coming decades. But could animals too adapt to the challenges of life on Mars? To answer this question, we must first understand the complexities of life on Earth and how animals have evolved to survive in extreme environments. On Earth, animals have adapted to a wide range of environments, from the freezing tundra to the blistering heat of the desert. Some animals have evolved mechanisms to survive without oxygen, such as certain species of fish and amphibians. Others have developed specialized behaviors or physical traits to thrive in extreme temperatures. The question is whether these same adaptations could be applied to Mars, a planet with even more extreme conditions. One of the key challenges for animals on Mars would be the lack of a breathable atmosphere. The Martian atmosphere is 100 times thinner than Earth's and composed primarily of carbon dioxide, with only trace amounts of oxygen. On Earth, animals rely on oxygen to breathe, and while some can survive in low-oxygen environments, none can survive in the almost total absence of oxygen. Could animals, through natural selection, develop the ability to breathe in Martian air? The answer is unclear. Evolution is a slow process, and it would likely take many generations for animals to adapt to such a dramatic shift in their environment. But what if animals were exposed to Martian conditions in a controlled setting, such as a Mars colony or laboratory? Could they evolve faster under these extreme conditions? One possibility is that animals might develop more efficient ways of extracting oxygen from the atmosphere, similar to how certain species of deep-sea creatures have evolved to extract oxygen from water with very low oxygen levels. However, the complete absence of oxygen in the Martian atmosphere would likely require a complete overhaul of an animal's respiratory system. This could take millions of years, far longer than the relatively short period humans would likely spend in a controlled Martian environment. Another challenge for animals on Mars would be the extreme temperatures. Mars, being farther from the Sun, experiences much colder temperatures than Earth. The average temperature on Mars hovers around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, with temperatures at the poles dropping even further. Some animals on Earth, such as polar bears and certain species of penguins, have evolved thick layers of fat and fur to survive in cold environments. But these adaptations may not be enough to keep animals alive on Mars. Mars lacks a thick atmosphere to trap heat, and the planet's surface is much colder than anything found on Earth. If animals were to survive on Mars, they would need to evolve ways to keep warm in such a frigid environment. They might develop insulating layers of fat, fur, or feathers, or evolve metabolic processes that allow them to generate heat more efficiently. However, even the hardiest animals on Earth would likely struggle to survive in Mars's harsh conditions. One potential way for animals to adapt to the cold would be through the development of antifreeze proteins. Certain species of fish, amphibians, and insects on Earth produce antifreeze proteins that prevent their blood from freezing in sub-zero temperatures. If animals were exposed to Martian conditions over a long period, it's possible they could evolve similar mechanisms to survive the extreme cold. However, like the oxygen problem, this would likely take a significant amount of time. The lack of liquid water on Mars would pose another major challenge to any animal species. While there is evidence of water ice on Mars, liquid water is virtually non-existent on the planet's surface. Animals on Earth rely on water for hydration, and without access to liquid water, survival on Mars would be nearly impossible. In Earth's extreme environments, some animals, like camels and certain desert-dwelling species, have developed adaptations to conserve water. However, these adaptations would not be enough to sustain an animal on Mars, where water is scarce and difficult to access. If animals were to survive on Mars, they would need to adapt to the harsh environment by developing entirely new mechanisms for obtaining and conserving water. Perhaps the most significant challenge for animals on Mars would be the planet's low gravity. Mars has only about 38% of Earth's gravity, meaning that animals living there would experience far less weight. This could have profound effects on their physiology and behavior. On Earth, animals have evolved to move and live within a specific gravity range. In a lower gravity environment, animals might grow larger or develop different body shapes to accommodate the reduced gravitational pull. For example, certain species of insects on Earth have evolved to grow larger in low-gravity environments, and similar adaptations could occur in animals on Mars. These changes could lead to the development of new species with unique traits tailored to the Martian environment. While the idea of animals adapting to Mars might seem like science fiction, it's important to note that adaptation is a process that takes time. On Earth, animals have taken millions of years to evolve traits that allow them to survive in extreme conditions. Could this process be accelerated on Mars? Could animals adapt more quickly in a controlled environment, perhaps with the aid of genetic engineering or selective breeding? It's possible that technological advancements could play a role in helping animals adapt to life on Mars. In recent years, scientists have made significant strides in genetic engineering, allowing them to alter an organism's DNA to promote specific traits. If animals were brought to Mars in a controlled environment, it's possible that genetic modifications could be used to help them survive in the harsh Martian conditions. However, the ethics of such an approach would need to be carefully considered. Ultimately, the speed at which animals could adapt to life on Mars depends on many factors, including the extent to which they can evolve new traits and how humans can assist in the process. It's likely that humans will be the first to settle on Mars, and we will likely create habitats that provide the necessary resources for survival. But what about the animals that will eventually accompany us? Could they adapt faster than we expect, or will the challenges of Mars prove too much for them? Only time will tell. As humanity prepares for the next chapter in space exploration, we must consider the possibility that animals could play an important role in the future of Mars. They could help us learn more about the planet, and perhaps one day they will help us survive there as well. The future of life on Mars, whether human or animal, is uncertain, but one thing is clear. The red planet will test the limits of survival in ways we can't yet imagine. Just as life on Earth adapted to the challenges of our planet, life on Mars could follow its own evolutionary path, one that may lead to the emergence of new species, new behaviors, and new possibilities for life beyond Earth. Whether animals or humans, the drive to adapt, survive, and thrive in an alien world will be our greatest challenge and our greatest opportunity.